make your bed. I think that's kind of what Amanda did that night, was that she was like, okay, this isn't going the way I want. So, nah.
What's up, everybody? Laura Sanko and Dean Thomas here to break down UFC 289's main event between Amanda Nunes and Irene Aldana, the GOAT versus the newest challenger. And I'm super excited to talk to you about this one in particular, Dean, not just because I think there's some pretty interesting X's and O's here, but I know you know Amanda obviously very well and can, I'm sure, provide some extra insight. So thanks for taking a second. And by the way, great job with your new hosting gig.
Well, thank you very much. I'm still surprised that I have a job. You know, they brought me back for a second week, and I'm going back for a third week. So I'm taking it week by week, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's the best you can ask for around here. I I don't get a lot of good feedback, but I keep coming back, so I feel like, must be doing something right.
Yeah, I think this is not how we work. It's like you don't get any feedback, but if they just bring you back, then it must be okay.
Yeah, you're I'm doing something right. So yeah, we've got a fun one coming up for UFC 289. The champion Amanda Nunes taking on number 5 Irene Aldana. And I guess to start, before we dig into the stats and the X's and O's and stuff, I kind of want to start back a couple fights ago, because that to me is a pivotal part of Amanda Nunes' story. I heard somewhere that after Amanda lost to Juliana, that she actually may have told you that she was thinking about being done. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny how this comes back around, because when it happened, I didn't really think of it as that big of a deal. I thought, because to me it was like natural progression. She didn't.
The loss or her saying that to you?
Her saying it to me.
Yeah.
Like, because she lost the fight. She didn't look like she wanted to be out there in the first place.
Yeah.
And then when she lost, she had a smile on her face, almost as if she was content and okay with it, and the pressure was gone.
Yeah, relieved.
Yeah. And then when I saw her, the first thing she said was, she calls me Sifu. She's Sifu, I think I'm done. And I said, you sure? She said, yeah. And she seemed like happy about it. So I thought that was it. But then a few weeks afterwards, she was like, nah, I'm not done. So, but she told me she was done. And, but I think that sometimes you might need to that reality check, or you might need that soul searching. And that might have been what it was, is that she wasn't happy with her circumstances. And I don't think that she wasn't not happy with fighting. Yeah. She wasn't happy with her circumstances. So,
and that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And she's changed all her circumstances. That was what initiated her to create her own place, which, I think at first she received some, in my opinion, unfair criticism for doing that, because, there's sort of this, like, and I get it, there's this rule of loyalty in MMA, right? Like, you stick with the gym that brought you to that got you to the dance. And I do get that. I'm not saying that there's nothing valid in that idea, but at some point, especially when you've gotten to a certain number of fights, a certain level of the game, these fighters know what they need. And for Amanda, you could tell that she needed her own space, her own place, her own people, where she could bring her daughter, almost make it like a home for her. And it's clearly been a recipe for success.
Well, so I'm going to disagree a little bit. It's not that you need to stay with who got you to the dance, because that is wrong. It's you need to stay with what's going to get you further.
Yeah.
Right. So just because they got you there doesn't mean that was even right. Like, you might have gotten there with or without them.
Yeah.
It's a matter of what's going to work for you in the next fight, and then the next fight, and the next fight. And it may not be the same people. It may be the same people. It may not be the same people. And I think that's kind of where we get stuck in this MMA game, in the MMA space, because of like that Brazilian jiu-jitsu loyalty. You came up because there was no money involved, and it was just all about pride and ego. So like, that's where it stems from. But the reality is that as you grow as a fighter, sometimes you need new things. And if you stick with the same people, you are killing your career. It is a self-inflictive, damaging thing that you're doing to your own career by doing that, by trying to be loyal. And as a coach, I would never do that to a fighter. I would tell fighters, go somewhere else where you're going to be better. In fact, like that's why Jillian ended up at the GOAT shit. I mean, I still work with her, but I told her, listen, she needed more. I couldn't provide for her everything that she needed. So she's getting it now.
I mean, the best coaches, it's really cool to hear you say that, because I agree with you. The best coaches are the ones that can put away any amount of ego involved with being attached to, a certain fighter. I know Eric Nixick does that all the time. Absolutely go train, here, go train there, go cross train, go see if some other place is a better fit. I think it's the only real way to move forward, but we're digressing. I guess the last question I want to ask you before we look at some of the stats coming to this fight, because this is a big one for me. Obviously, so Amanda has this fight with Juliana. First round looks like what we kind of maybe expected it to. And then the second round, everything changes, right? Now, we know now that there were a lot of X factors coming to that fight. The knee injury, the stint with COVID, and she's alluded to some of the other things going on that she wasn't happy about, maybe some of the things that contributed to her getting this other space for herself. She's never really been specific about it. But then, you have this second fight. Well, the first fight, there are moments in that fight that we never thought we'd see from Amanda. And I'm not just talking about like her being beat or her being submitted, but her looking very uncomfortable being in a situation that she was losing. She hasn't had a lot of adversity recently in her career. She has early on, but not in a very long time. So then she leaves, she creates this new space for herself, comes back and looks phenomenal, right? She's added a completely new stance to her game and just absolutely destroys Juliana Peña. A couple of 10-8 rounds in there. I mean, beautiful performance from her, gets the decision. Sorry, long-winded question. My point is, did the first loss to Juliana erase the Tyson effect that Amanda had or has, or did her beating Juliana so soundly the second time take that away and say, no, the Tyson effect is still very much there. She just had an off night. She had an injury, and we all have bad days.
That is such a weird question, because I think and I always say this, is that our sample sizes for MMA are just not large enough.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not. And she lost that fight, which proved that she was human, but she had already lost before. So like, how could she but then she comes back and does what she did in the second fight and just looked spectacular. And now it's like, does that erase it? So to me, I say this, she's shown that you can pierce her armor, but you got to do it. You got to be able to do it. You have to be good enough and tough enough and durable enough to do that. And if you're not, you are in for a long night.
Yep.
So I think that's the one thing that Irene Aldana has to, she can hang her hat on that. She can hang her hat on and say, all right, if I can get through the storm and hurt her, she can be beat.
Yeah.
But if I can't, I don't have a chance.
It sounds silly to say it like that, but that really what it comes down to with Amanda, in particular, because she has so many different avenues to win, particularly in this matchup. But before we get too far down that road, let me run through the tail of tape and a few statistics here real quick. So Amanda Nunes, 15-2 in the UFC with 7 knockouts, 3 submissions, 5 decisions. Irene Aldana, 7-4 in the UFC, 3 knockouts, 1 submission, and 3 decisions. Irene Aldana is taller by 1 inch. Their reaches are virtually the same. They say Amanda has half an inch. That's kind of pointless to even point out. They're both listed as orthodox, although we know Amanda added that southpaw wrinkle to her game last time out. Both 35 years old, so really pretty close in terms of their general tail of tape stats. And then when you look at some of their striking statistics, it gets really interesting. I was amazed to see how accurate a striker Amanda Nunes is. She has a 51.8% accuracy in terms of striking. The UFC average is only 42%, so she is well above, and the record is 67, by the way. So she's well above average, and some would even say exceptional in terms of her striking accuracy. On the flip side, Aldana, very high volume, 5.39 strikes per minute, very, very high. In fact, the 4th highest in bantamweight history. In terms of takedown accuracy, 59% for Amanda. That is also very, very high. 50% for Aldana, which is actually pretty high as well. takedown defense for Nunes, 81.3%, 81.1% for Aldana, so virtually identical there as well. And one thing I will point out with that statistic in particular, which I find very interesting, is what number of takedowns makes up that percentage, because it's all fun and good to talk about percentages. But you got to look at how many attempts were made. So for Amanda Nunes, 32 takedown attempts have been made on her, and only 6 have been successful. On the flip side, 53 for Aldana, and only 10 have been successful. So obviously that makes sense, because not a ton of people are gonna, not a lot of women in this division are gonna look to see a path to success against Amanda on the ground. So fewer people have been trying to get it to the ground, but I am very impressed at the number of times. I had no idea Aldana had been shot on that many times in the UFC and had been so successful. And I think that that will be important for her in this fight in particular. But that the takedown accuracy stat for Amanda is one of the highest in the history of the division. So just a couple of interesting stats to keep in mind there, I guess, as we talk about this. But back to the matchup, we've talked a little bit about Amanda. What's your take on Irene Aldana? What, I guess, before this fight was even announced, what would your analysis of Irene Aldana be in terms of what she brings to the table?
I mean, she is surging, I would say. I mean, more than anything else, I think the fact that she's surging is an advantage for her. The fact that she's in this spot, the fact that she knows that she has to be at the top of her game, I think she can draw a little bit of inspiration from the position that she's in. I think she can draw a little bit of inspiration being Mexican, having the opportunity to be the 4th champion.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that she can draw inspiration from to be on top of her game and to make this a dogfight. And she'll need to make it a dogfight in order to beat Amanda. I think that, trying to fight a clean fight against Amanda can be risky. It could be dangerous. And I think that that's not her path to victory. I think that if she can make this a dogfight, get in Amanda's face, and kind of do what Juliana did a little bit, just weather the storm a little bit and just say, listen, you're not going to put me away easy. And I'm going to be tougher than you think. She may be able to try to again, penetrate through that armor of Amanda. And if she can penetrate through that armor, there's a chance for victory her in this.
Because that's, and I can't remember if it was you and I that were talking about this the other week when we were working together, or if it was someone else. So pardon me if I'm remembering incorrectly, but it seems silly to say this, but I actually think that Aldana is the best MMA boxer that Nunes has faced, even though she's faced Holly Holm. And I say that because Holly Holm's style of boxing it's so different than Aldana's. And it's very much evasive. It's really a kickboxing game to begin with, but it's very evasive, and it's very much on the outside. That is not Aldana's boxing game. And I do think that Aldana's style of boxing, where she pushes the action a little bit, she's not gonna crash the distance recklessly. She's got really clean striking, but her range, it's very different than Holly's. And in my mind, it's a more difficult range for Amanda.
Well, and I'm going to say this too, is that Aldana presents, from a stylistic and skill perspective, the most complete challenge that Amanda has faced, because Aldana is, like you said, the best boxer for MMA. Maybe it's a toss up between Jermaine Duranamy and her.
But that was a tough fight too.
And you see how tough that was. Amanda was shooting, like, she was like, oh my goodness, this is. Yeah. But I think that Irene's a better mixed martial artist than Jermaine. And her takedown defense is going to be better. And even if she gets you on the ground, it's going to be better, because Jermaine Duranamy was just kind of like, all right, I know I'm going to have to defend these takedowns, but I'm not really that good at it. I'm just big and I can stop some stuff. But if you get me down, it's probably over. But I think Irene's going to be tougher to take down. I think her footwork is better than Jermaine's. I think that it's going to be harder. I think Irene's going to be the most complete mixed martial artist that Amanda has faced.
Yeah, although the sort of common sense path to victory against Irene Aldana would be probably on the ground, it's not like she's a fish out of water down there. The grappling exchanges that she had with Macy Chasson, who is a much bigger fighter than she is, looked pretty impressive. I mean, I'm not going to say it's the forefront of her game, but she's not lost on the ground by any stretch of imagination. And earlier in her career, Bethe Correia, like she's gotten some nice submission wins. So it's not that there's a complete lack of danger in terms of, her game if Amanda does take her down. I think it could get potentially interesting on the ground. But I think when I think about this fight, and whenever you get these really dominant champions uh like Amanda and like Valentina, it gets kind of tricky to analyze them because you're sort of like, it's hard to paint these paths to victory. I think we've talked about this before. But with Amanda, when I look at this game, or this particular matchup, and you watch the moments where Juliana was successful, and you watch the moments where Jermaine was successful, and there really are not that many examples of others, but they all kind of look alike. And it's all technical, in your face, straight punches. Because one thing I will say about Amanda, that she's never really developed a lot of head movement because she hasn't had to. She's been able to succeed with power and overwhelming people, and she can throw in. I mean, her power compared to many other people in the division is just so remarkable that a lot of times women have fought her differently than they would fight anybody else in the division. And because of that, Amanda's never really had to develop a really slick, pocket style of boxing. And Aldana is so defensively sound, in particular in that close boxing range. I think that that's where she could potentially win this fight.
I will tell you this though, Amanda does have it though.
Yeah.
She does have it. She hasn't had to use it or show it, but she does have it. I know from experience in working with her, she can absolutely got that head movement, got that slick. She does have a slick style of boxing that she can use though.
Do you think she didn't do it against Peña because she was tired because she had so many injuries coming in? Or do you think it just sort of like took her by surprise in that first fight?
I think there were a couple of different reasons. I think it took her by surprise. And then, okay, you have a son, right? Now, when your son is like, he's upset and you want him to do something and he's just like, nah. There, it's done. Make your bed. It's made. I think that's kind of what Amanda did that night, was that she was like, okay, this isn't going the way I want. So, nah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even trying no more. And I think that's kind of what she did. And I think that's when we talk about a path to victory, I think you can't not use that color. And that color is making her uncomfortable. And it all looks the same. And she wears that on her face.
Yeah.
Anytime you see her uncomfortable, you see it on her face. You see that discomfort on her face. And I think that those are signs that if I was coaching against her, I'd be like, okay, we got to make this uncomfortable for her, and we got to look for this face.
How do you see Irene being able to do that?
I mean, but just like you're saying, like, and I said this earlier, and I'm like, I hope I don't get canceled for this, but like, she's got to fight like a Mexican.
No, I think she talks about that. I know I get nervous talking about it too, but it's a real thing.
Yeah, you got to
Mexican style boxing.
Yeah. She's got to fight like a Mexican. And that is to get in your face, take the punches that they give you, take the shots that they give you, stay in your face and hit and crack them. Like, she's got to crack Amanda early. She's got to let Amanda know early that she ain't playing.
Yeah.
And if she lets her know early and she can make Amanda uncomfortable, she could damn well win this fight. Now, Rashad Evans predicted, who has been genius with these crazy predictions, apparently, like these upset predictions, predicted that Irene would knock Amanda out.
Wow.
I'm not agreeing with that, but I'm just saying Rashad Evans, Hall of Famer, he predicted the Ronda Rousey Holly Holm fight. He predicted Renan Barão and TJ Dillashaw when TJ beat him up in the first time. He predicted like these crazy upset wins, and he's predicting a knockout for Irene Aldana. So I will never say that because Amanda's my girl, and I'm always going to say, like, she's the only person in the world that I'll never pick against, even if I believe it. So, I still think Amanda finds a way to win this fight.
Well, she is. I mean, she definitely has more avenues to victory for sure. She's got the power. She does have the striking. She's got the wrestling. She's got the grappling. She's got the submissions. I mean, she has a bigger danger factor in more areas of the game. But I do think that Aldana she's a new challenge. Even though Aldana doesn't have the the shiniest record, she has a configuration of tools that I think is going to make this fight really, really interesting. For me, I think at this stage of the game, a lot of it comes down to what is keeping Amanda motivated. And I watched the interview that she had with John Anik, and to me, she looked completely renewed. I frankly think that she was really happy to not have to fight Peña again. Not because she didn't think she could beat her again. She's just sick of training for for Juliana Peña. And I genuinely get the sense that she is invigorated, excited, focused. She's got another daughter on the way. I think she's checked all the boxes in terms of her career. So in your mind, what keeps someone motivated that has achieved, I mean, essentially all that she can?
So we have to be careful about some things that we do in terms of writing the story for fighters. And sometimes we always go, oh, they need to, they need to be mad. They need to be motivated because this person doesn't like them. Sometimes people just like to fight because they like to fight. Like they like to compete. They like martial arts competition. And I think she's that type of person. I don't think she likes media. I don't think she cares about any. I think she just likes, she's the type that would likes to go in the gym and beat people up. Like she likes that. And I think that might be motivating enough for her to just want to fight. No, like it doesn't matter. Like I just want to fight. Like that's just what it is. Like and I think that's enough for her. But what she didn't like was all the attention or people telling her what to do. And I think that was why she left Top Team, because everybody was telling her what to do, what she needed. She don't like that. Again, that makes her uncomfortable. That makes her withdraw.
Yeah.
So that's what we know about her, is that she will withdraw from things when she's uncomfortable. And the same way she withdrew from the fight against Juliana, the same way she withdrew from her teams that have made her uncomfortable, she'll withdraw when she's uncomfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I think that the fact that she's now with who she's with, she's got her team around her. And again, hindsight is 2020. We'll know after Saturday if it works or not. If it works, we'll say it was brilliant. If not, we'll say she needs a new team. Of course. But the reality is that I'm going to take her word for it and say that she's in a happy place right now. Her mind is right. And she just wants to fight.
Yeah, she certainly seems it. And I think, I don't know, maybe Connor's a slightly different story, but there are some similarities there. And I think that there are some people that just are born to compete. And this is their form of competing. And life just wouldn't be the same without it. And I thought it was really interesting to hear her talk about how one of her motivations now is just creating memories with Reagan, who is starting to be at an age where she understands a little bit about what mom does, and definitely even more so over the next couple of years. You can see that being an example to her, now that she sees Reagan really being able to understand it, has become an even more important thing. And an even more important thing. And I guess as a parent, that I get, that I really do understand. And I probably would not have understood it before I had kids.
Yeah, I mean, they're all weird, different ways to look at it. I remember when Dustin Poirier first had his daughter, I was thinking, oh no, we're going to lose another one because it's going to domesticate him. It's going to make him soft, but it made him a better fighter.
Yeah.
It put things into a different perspective. Again, we can't write the story for other people. Like no one knows the ingredients which is going to make somebody truly successful except for that person and the errors that they make and if they correct it. So for Amanda, I really do believe that she's in a good place. I'm not going to say that her leaving the team was a bad thing, because everybody's going to say that, and and I've kind of even alluded to that in other interviews of saying she's got a bunch of yes people around her, but maybe that's just what she wants to make her happy. She's going to go out and perform to the best of her ability, is just to have positive people around her, whether they be yes people or not.
Yeah.
And then she just performs better that way.
Well, we will certainly find out soon enough. And I'm excited for this one. I'm genuinely excited for this one, because honestly, either way, I'm gonna be really happy and disappointed, because for Amanda to be able to continue that reign on the top, super happy for that. But man, to have a fourth Mexican champion at the same time, how crazy would that be? What a moment that would be for Irene and Alexa to be able to hold those belts up together. I know that's been something that they've been looking forward to. So either way, a lot of happiness, a lot of disappointment. That's the name of the game, I guess. So I'm not going to make you make a prediction, because that's not fair when it's a buddy of yours.
Well, all I'm saying is, if Arini wins and there's 4 Mexican champions, I've already started looking at property in Chihuahua. So it's all good.
Love it. I love it. I appreciate your time, Dean. We'll talk about the co-main event a little bit coming up, but thank you so much for your insights, and we'll see you next time, guys.